in all states of your life. She's usually the one looking ahead. She's usually the first one to see the traps that we're going to fall into. You know, she's usually the first one to call out your mess. You know, why? Because they know their kids. They know their kids. They know what helps them. I have 3 kids, and I know they're all different. They all need something different. So if I'm going to be a good mom, I have to tend to their personal needs according to their personality, according to their character, a boy, girl. They're totally different. And so it's like through teaching and instruction. If you look at the word, in Proverbs especially, it always says, listen to your father and listen to your mother's instruction. That's talking about her teachings. A lot of times, especially when they were younger, we would be sitting there eating like anything, lunch, dinner, whatever, or doing something in the car driving. Something will come up and I'll just start talking to them. And they're like, leave it up to mom to turn everything into a lesson. And it's like, but has it helped? Does it help? You know, but that's moms. You can't help that. That's just who you are. And so, you know, you're like always looking into how to instruct them, because you don't want to be a mom, and this came out a couple times today. You don't want to be a mom that selfishly raises her kids unto herself. Not just in the sense of how I want to raise them, but also in the sense of you're taking advantage of the children God has blessed you with. You don't want to be that kind of mom. You don't want to be the kind of mom that, you know, this is what I want from you. This is what I need. You know, no. A mom is very sacrificial. So as I'm looking for moms in the Bible, 2 of them spoke to me, which was Mary, the mother of Jesus. You know, because in spite of Jesus purposely coming intentionally to die, she was still a mom. She still had to see her son die on that cross. But the one that I most resonate with is Hannah. And this is a woman who could not have children. So she went to the temple and she was crying, and she had a bitterness of soul. And she's going and she's praying, and this priest is watching her, and he thinks she's drunk because she's just looking distraught. She's a mess. She's looking toe up. So he's like, she's a drunk woman. But because he couldn't hear the words that were coming out of her mouth, so he's kind of telling her, like, woman, stop the drinking. You know, like, knock it off. But she inspires me because in 1 Samuel chapter 1, in verses 21, it says, okay, so she already had the child, right? She got pregnant. God heard her cry. So she actually had the baby. She got pregnant, but she made God a promise. She said, if you allow me to have a son, I will give him back to you. What kind of mom does that? A mom sees her baby for the first time, and she's like holding on to them. And anybody who comes in and tries to like do any harm, mama bear, all the way, you know? But here is a mom who said, Lord, I'll give my child back to you for your purpose. So in verse 21, it says, now the man Elkanah, her husband, and all his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, not until the child is weaned. Then I will take him, that he may appear before the Lord and remain there forever. So Elkanah, her husband, said to her, do what seems best to you. Wait until you have weaned him. Only let the Lord establish his word. Then the woman stayed and nursed her son until he was weaned. See, back in the day, the women were property, right? They were property. But when it came to the household, the trippy part about it is her opinion was very respected. When it came to the children, the husband listened. And that's the trippy part, you know. Here, I always thought, okay, their property, they have no voice. No, actually, they had a voice. And the amazing part of that is how God truly knows what He's doing in order to balance a home. If you balance a home, you need the father and the mother. I grew up without my dad, and dear Lord, I don't know how my mama put up with me. But I was a mess. I was a hot mess. But when you see the mom and the dad together, there's more of a balance. And the husband here respected what the wife wanted. So they respected her opinions, and they allowed her to have ideas and stuff when it came to the responsibilities of the woman. But this is the most amazing part for me. In verse 28, it says, "Therefore, I also have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord." So they worship the Lord there. So she's saying, this is when she came and brought Samuel to the priest. And this is where she said, okay, I did what I said I was going to do. Here is Samuel. He is for the Lord. He's going to be in the Lord's house forever. I can't even imagine putting myself in her shoes to do that. But as mothers, as Christian moms, that's what we want to do. So many times in my own life, you know, here I was trying to protect my kids, and God's like, let me deal with them. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, but they're still young and this and that. And then they fall on their face. And then I'm like, you can take them. You can take them. Deal with them, Lord. But I should have done that from the get-go. I should have been able to have this ability to say, Lord, you are the one that created them. Therefore, it's your purpose. I'm only here to do my responsibility. I'm only here to do what I do, and that's be a mother. I have a responsibility, but at the end of the day, Lord, this is your child. At the end of the day, Lord, help me to raise these children unto you. Give them back to God spiritually. And that was my mom. My mom was Hannah. She had 6 boys. And she was always praying, God, give me a daughter if, you know, she's going to do good to your kingdom. Give me a daughter, give me a daughter, give me a daughter. I didn't actually know she had this prayer until a few years ago. Until I became a minister, actually. That's when she told me. And God finally gave her a daughter. But today, her prayer has been answered. Now, she couldn't see it for a little while. So, mamas, you guys might not be able to see something good at certain times of your children's life, but a mama never gives up. A mama's always staying on her task, because eventually your baby will come back. They will come back to the Lord. They will come back to their senses. You know, I did. I came to my senses. I've seen my daughter come back to her senses. You know, it doesn't matter how hard it looks. A mom always pushes through. So Hannah inspires me in the spiritual sense. But what do we do while we have our kids around us? What do we do? And we go to Proverbs 31. The famous, what is that? Scriptures for women. Proverbs 31. Because this is an amazing woman that they talk about. And women have strength in their own right. Men have their own capacity, their own duties, but women have it in their own right. Especially when it comes to raising children. Whether it's physical children or even spiritual mamas. Spiritual mamas still have to do the same thing for their spiritual kids, you know? And so in Proverbs 31, this is a mom teaching her son. And I'm going to start in verse 10 because I don't want to go too long, so you guys can go and spend the day with your mamas or wives. In verse 10 it says, "Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies." A virtuous wife. Virtue means a woman of worth. It means she's a woman who has strength and influence. If you look at a good mom with her kids, the kids respect her, even though when they're rebelling. Even when they're rebelling, you still won't cross the line. When I was rebellious, I still did not cross the line with my mama. I saw my friends and how they were so they would actually get in fist fights with their moms. I'm like, how could you? You know what I mean? Like, that's nuts. I could never, because of the type of woman my mom is. My mom is a virtuous woman. She is a woman of strength. She is a woman who has raised 8 kids. Until this day, my brothers are way older than me, and they'll still call her when they're in distress. And even when they're not saying something, like one of my brothers gets sick. He has gout. And my mom has a dream. She's like, he's not telling me, but I see him laying in bed and he can't get up. So I'm like, man, I tell my brothers, don't be trying to hide nothing from my mama, because God will still show her. You know, it's like, even when they don't want to, they're still going to mom. They still need that influence of the mom. They still need the mom's strength. They still need what she has to offer. Even when we move out of our mom's house, there's certain things about our mom we'll still always need or desire. But she's also a woman who's trustworthy and honest. That's what a virtuous woman is. It says, the heart of her husband safely trusts her. That means he can rely on her. This is a woman who her husband can have confidence in. That a man can rely on her and say, look, I know I can go and do whatever I gotta do, but I know you're gonna be there when I need you. And vice versa, you know. But this is a woman who a man can rely on to do her job, to do what she's supposed to do, be there. And it says, so he will not lack gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. This is a woman who does her household good. She's not taking away from her house. She's not being selfish. She's not taking advantage of the people that are under her care. Whether it's in the ministry or whether it's at home. You're not taking advantage of people. You are doing the people that you're caring for, you're doing them good. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profit she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good and her lamp does not go out by night. I mean, this woman is a hard worker. She's a hard worker. She's like, okay, well, I can take care of this. In other words, she's making things stretch and multiply. You know what I mean? She's not waiting for her husband to be like, oh, hey, what are you going to offer me today? Oh, hey, what are you going to do for me today? Oh, kids, what are you going to do for me today? No, this is a woman who gets up. She does what she has to do for her household. And she's multiplying what comes in. She's like thinking of, how can I benefit my home? How can I benefit the people that are under my care? And that's a mother's heart. That's a true mother's heart. You are there for the benefit of others and not yourself. So she's here and she's beneficial. And it says strength. She girds herself with strength. That means this is a woman who has fortitude. This is a woman who's able to face danger and hardships with courage. I've seen my mom face so many situations with so much courage. I don't know how. I don't know where it comes from. I have no idea. When I saw my brother passing away, and she was standing there, she would not leave his side, and she was just, when he was taking his last breaths, she was crying and saying, son, I saw your first breath and I will be here for you to take your last. And that broke my heart because I'm a mom. For a mom to be able to say that, you know that took everything from her. but she faced it with courage. My dad couldn't have the courage. He didn't even want to go near my brother's side. But my mama wouldn't leave him. She wouldn't leave him. And this is a woman who faces things with courage. It doesn't matter how hard it is. You know, I've seen my daughter get sick, and I've seen her, you know, I didn't know if she was going to make it or not. But I had to be able to face it with courage. I had to rely on God. I've seen my other daughter, you know, well, maybe she's going to go to the world now. But I had to stay secure in God. This is how you're going to find your courage. As women, this is how you're going to find your courage. You don't rely on yourself, because you know what? Even a mama gets tired. But you find it in God. You find it in His strength. You find it in His love. Because His love is unconditional. And when your kids are driving you crazy, you want to just like, you know what? Fine, go. Go and let's see how far you can go on your own, right? Why? Because we're human. We're just like, I don't want to deal with this. But if you have fortitude, if you have that courage, you're going to keep doing what's right by them, no matter how hard it is on you. And it goes on in verse 19. She stretches out her hands to this distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hands to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. So this is a woman who makes the people around her look good, right? You know, like they say, behind every strong man is a strong woman. This is a woman who makes people in her household look good. She'll lift them up. She'll do whatever to tend to them so they look good. You know, she's fixing them up. She's giving them the finest of things. Doesn't mean like we're gonna go and spend stuff on name brand stuff. That's not what this is about. You know, I'm not saying, oh, you gotta go to name brand stuff. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's talking about her hard work. When he sits among the elders of the land, she makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. It means, what is that? It means toughness, endurance, and excellency are her ornament. You know, you see ornaments on a tree, and it makes the tree pretty. Okay, what makes a woman pretty is her strength, her excellency, and her endurance. That's what makes a woman beautiful. And then it says, she shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom. This is talking about wit. She's super skillful. She's very witty. She's intelligent. She's clever. She's always trying to find creative ways to benefit her home. She's trying to find creative ways to bless the people around her, bless the ministry. She's very creative. And on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing. This is talking about beauty. That's what's appealing to the eye, you know. A lot of people get caught up in the looks. And it's saying, this beauty that you see is pleasing to your eye is meaningless and unsatisfying. And that's the truth. If we're finding or looking for stuff that look good, it's going to be meaningless and it will never satisfy your soul. But if you get a woman on your side who has strength, who has fortitude, who has influence, who's there to benefit you, nobody can compare to that. Nothing. She will satisfy. And everybody will praise her. It says that her children and her husband both will bless her because she is a benefit. It says, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. A woman who fears God, a woman of God is everything. Because because she's going to hear God for you. And her own works are going to show what kind of woman she is. If she's a woman of idleness, ain't nobody going to bless her. They'll barely remember her. If she didn't benefit her house, they might send you a Mother's Day card. But a woman who always does good for you, those are the ones that you will always remember, and you will always desire to give back to them. And we don't ever want to forget those kind of women in our lives. We can be those women. I want to be that kind of woman, that I do the work of God to bless those around me. I want to be the woman who fears God and is not concerned about myself. Amen. So happy Mother's Day. There's food, there's fruit, there's snacks in the back for any